Welcome to the Mad Mamluks. My name is Mohammed, alongside my two co-hosts, Omer and Sim. Today we have a very good friend, Sheikh Omer Haqqani. He's co-chairman of the Outreach Committee at ICW. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have you. It's an honor.
I love being here. I'm so excited. Let's get the party going.
Where'd you go to school, man?
Well, when you're asking about school, which school are you asking about? Are you asking about the religious side or the secular side?
No, let's start with the elementary, and then we'll work our way up.
Yeah, where'd you grow up?
Okay, I came here when I was 12 years old. Before that, up until then, we used to live in the Arabian Peninsula, modern-day Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school over there. After I came here, we actually were living in a small city a small town called Prestonsburg in eastern Kentucky.
I've never heard of that. Were there any Muslims there?
There were about 2 families when we were there. So including us, it was 3 families.
Okay.
I went to school there, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. After 9th grade, we moved over here mainly because my dad was not able to find a job in that place.
Kentucky's full of jobs. That's outrageous.
Yeah, if you want to be a coal miner, then you got a job. The reason why we were there actually was because my uncle was there, and he's actually a surgeon. So he's been there for a long time, and he's still there. So he's got a, very secure job. So
Very nice.
That's why we were there. So, but my dad, he's an electrical engineer, and he was not able to. He didn't have too many opportunities over there. So we ended up moving here to Chicago.
Very nice.
And that's where I met you guys here as well.
You met in high school.
We met in high school.
Yeah. We were
Glenbard
sophomores.
East.
We were sophomores, yeah.
So
I didn't like to talk to you back then, though.
no, we really didn't. I don't think I talked to you at all.
We were
on different
we were
planets.
on opposite ends. I was into a whole other scene back then, and Sheikh Haqqani was in another scene. Yeah.
And I still remember the first day I met him. I don't know if you want me to redepict this, relive this. I just remembered exactly how we met.
I have no.
We were in the cafeteria. And somebody was eating something.
I don't remember any of that.
And you were wearing those cute glasses of yours.
I don't recall anything like that.
Oh, don't worry. We'll save you the embarrassment. So continue. Sorry. So then you, Chicago, yes.
So we, after
High
moving
school.
here, went to high school here, went to college here, and I know you guys from we're talking 15, 18, I don't even know, a long time basically. Yeah. And we've known each other since then. Went to school, went to college, we met outside of school, outside of college, mainly at masajids and a lot of dawah work that we were involved in.
Yeah.
Whether it's, charity work or helping at the masjid or any kind of events, ISNA, ICNA, all those events that we've all attended and went through and participated in various forms. So that's where, that's basically my education. After I finished high school, I went to college a couple of years, College of DuPage. Again, I was very active along with you brothers at that time as well, which, we were very involved and active with the MSA at COD at that time. After that, I had an opportunity to actually go and study overseas. And this everything just happened to be at the right time, at the right place at the right time. Because if you remember, we were talking about 2001, 2002, we really didn't have too many opportunities that a lot of the younger generation today has.
Yeah.
With the many institutes that are here, if you want to learn Arabic, if you want to learn the language, basic fiqh, there's a lot of opportunity. There's competition. There's a lot of competition. Now, back then, we didn't have that. So I had the opportunity to actually travel overseas. I went to University of Damascus in Syria. I studied there for a little bit. And from there, I also traveled to neighboring Lebanon, went to Jordan, went to Saudi Arabia, and then from there I traveled to India, and I actually ended up finishing and graduating from Nadwatul Ulema in Lucknow. During these travels, where what happened was a year before, Sheikh Omer, he had traveled as well. I think it was a year before or 2 years before I had gone.
Yes. While you were in Damascus,
You were
I was
already
in Mauritania,
gone,
right?
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
already
I had left a little before you. Yeah,
you had left before me.
End of 2001. Yeah.
Yeah. So we reconnected to see where we're at, what we're doing, what we're planning, and we ended up traveling together a little bit. We did Umrah together, and then from there we also studied about a year, about a year and a half or so together, and then after that, we both went our separate ways again. I ended up finishing at Nadwatul Ulema in Lucknow, whereas Omer had an opportunity to go to Egypt and graduate from Azhar.
Sheikh Omer, I wanted to ask you about ICW. It's in the news a lot nowadays. What's going on?
What's happening with that? There's a lot of things that are happening there, and most of them are positive things. It's been in the news recently because last week there was a cyber attack on the website of the mosque. In order for us to better understand what happened and why it happened, I'm going to have to take you back for a few months. What happened is one of the strongest, what we want to call program or activity as the masjid is the outreach program that the mosque has for the community of Wheaton. What that basically means is having an open conversation, an open dialogue with the neighbors, with the churches, with the community leaders, inviting them to the mosque, sitting down together, having a discussion, just about anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be religion in particular. In regards to that, how we did that, actually, we actually had about 4 events within the past 8 months. We had an event called, I can talk to you about, one of the main events that we had, which turned out to be very popular, was an open mosque day. This was back in about October, right around there, I believe. And the event was for about 2.5 hours. It was an open mosque day, meaning it's an open invitation for anyone and everyone that want to come and find out what this place is about, what is happening in this place, who is in this place, who are the people running it. Come and meet us. So we had advertised it on social media, on Facebook and Twitter. We had put up signs outside of the mosque as well. And believe it or not, even at the day of the event, we were not sure as to what the reaction of the people would be. Who's gonna come, who's not gonna come. Even up until the day of the event, we were not sure. We were thinking, maybe 10 people will come, maybe 20 people will come. We were not sure, so we're just sitting around. And I remember it was actually from 3 to 5, I believe. And right around 2:50, all of a sudden, we start seeing people come in. And right then and there, I knew that this is going to be a big event. And when the event was over, within a matter of 2.5 hours, we had about, between 2 to 250 people that visited the mosque.
Oh, no way.
Majority of them, 2 to 250, and that's without any exaggeration.
Now, the Wheaton area is the very well known for Christian churches. There's like a church on almost every block, right? Mm-hmm. And it's home to Wheaton College, which is the Harvard of Christian schools. Mm-hmm. So I think, what type of Christianity is that?
Evangelical,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, the Islamic Center of Wheaton itself is located, in a former church. It used to be a church before, until it was sold for whatever reason it was. I think it was foreclosed, and it was purchased by a group of Muslims, and it was turned into a mosque. We actually have our neighbors right next to us. It's a church, and the one next to them is a church as well. So we are in a former church, and the two neighbors next to us are churches as well. And when we were doing this event, we were looking to send out invitations to members of other faiths, mainly, Christians and churches. And I was actually responsible for doing that. And
how did you advertise? Did you contact people specifically, or was it just billboards or flyers or what?
How we advertised, we used social media primarily, and also we sent an email, and that's what I was talking about. I was kind of responsible for marketing it. And one of the ways that I wanted to do was I wanted to reach out to all of the churches that were in the neighborhood, in Wheaton, just in Wheaton, to reach out to them with an invitation that, we're here, come meet us, let's get to know each other. And to my surprise, I found out that within, 3 to 5 mile radius, there were about 40 churches.
Wow.
40 churches within a 3 to 5 mile radius. We sent an invitation to all of them. It's open mosque day. Let's come, get to know each other. So this event turned out to be a huge success. We had a lot of people, a lot of visitors that came, whether they were pastors from churches or college students or just regular neighbors. Some neighbors, who told us, we have seen this place going from, when it was just an empty place to a church that was made, and then from a church now it's a mosque. And we were actually kind of curious, what goes on in a mosque? What do the Muslims do in a mosque? We also had some people who came, and this is, I think, was very interesting, and this is actually what drives the work that we do. We had several people, and to me specifically, 2 people who were in their 60s, late 60s, told me personally that, this is actually wonderful that you're doing, because I have never met a Muslim in my life. Okay? So this to me was very powerful, because what I saw in that is, in a way, how we have neglected, as Muslims, how we have neglected to present Islam the way that we are supposed to. We have kept this for the most part, just to ourselves. We have confined it just to the mosque or just our houses, our families, and that's it. And we see the result of that today. And the result of that is we have people, who are not even Muslims, or sometimes Muslims, but they're not living here, who are speaking on behalf of the Muslims and who are presenting Islam to the public here. So, and that's our responsibility. That's not their responsibility. So how are we going to do that if we don't even make ourselves accessible to them?
Right.
So this was the the primary driving force behind this program that we had done, and we followed that up with 2 more programs. One of the other programs that we had done was a Latino Day, exclusively it was completely in Spanish. And one of the reasons why we had done that was, according to the statistics that just came out not too long ago, that has told us that the fastest growing segment that are turning to Islam are the Latinos.
Wow.
So we had an event just in Spanish just for the Latino community. And again, this was not just only for Muslims. This was open for anyone and everyone to come. They can be Mexican, they can be, any other Spanish-speaking country. And we had we had a great turnout for that as well.
That's amazing. I've never heard anybody do something like that before. It's amazing.
Now, what are the challenges hosting such an event? Why aren't other masjids doing this and following your type of example?
Well, if you're speaking about challenges, really, I don't think there are any challenges. There were some hesitation, right? The first time we had done it, we were kind of hesitant. We were not sure about the turnout, first of all. The other thing that we were kind of unsure about, the safety aspect of it. Because if we're saying open house and we're inviting anyone and everyone and we're publicizing it on social media, we're sending out emails, we don't know what kind of people are going to come. Are we going to have people that are going to come in, just to have an argument? Are we going to have people come in just to cause a scene? or even worse, or, with all the mass shootings that are going on. So of course this was in the back of our minds. But since the first time we had that event, all of that went away. We don't even think about that anymore. What happens, of course, we do take some safety precautions. Like, I think the first time that we had it, we did have a private security guard that we had hired, just in case, for any unforeseen events that may have happened. But we have, that's not even in our mind now. Now, as far as why the other masajids are not doing, actually, the event in October that we had done, there were a total of about 8 mosques that had participated on that same day. So this was the first time this was actually done under the banner of CIOGC, so it's the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago. So, but within our area, there are other mosques as well. There's MSI, which is in Bloomingdale. There's Darul Salam in Lombard. There's Islamic Foundation in Villa Park. None of those mosques had participated in that event on that day. But now later on, after we had done it, some of them have also taken on the initiative to do this. But at that time, in our area, no one had done it. Some of the other mosques that had done on that same day, I think Islamic Foundation North had done it. Desplaines Mosque, Potter Masjid, they had participated in it. Downtown Islamic Center had participated in it. I think MCC also had participated in it. So it was scattered. But in our area, it had the most impact, partly because there was no other mosque that was doing it. But more importantly, the community that we were doing it in. The community that we were doing it, which was, mainly, evangelical Christians that you want to call. And it was just, a lot of curiosity that brought people in.
Yeah. Do you think we have any shyness as a Muslim community? The Muslim communities always were very self-conscious about how we appear to non-Muslims. What kind of challenges are you seeing among your own community members in how they approach non-Muslims in these events?
This has actually helped a lot of the Muslims in addressing this particular point, because previously, I have experienced this as well, and I'm sure some of you have as well. Muslims felt, I don't want to use the word, but sometimes they felt like, they're ashamed to be Muslims, or, being Muslim is a crime.
Yeah.
Or, this is not normal, we're not normal. What we're doing is out of the ordinary.
Right.
And part of the reason why they do this is because they really don't know the history of Islam, and they don't know the history of Islam in this country. Right. Islam did not start here, 15 years ago or after 9/11. Islam has been here right from the beginning, right, from when the country was, founded. Statistics tell us, or actually history tells us, that, more than 10% of the slaves that were brought here from Africa were actually Muslims. So we can say, I think it's safe to say that, the soil that this country, the foundation of this country is built on is the soil is soaked with the sweat and the blood of the Muslims.
Right.
Very true.
And I think some of that is more ethnically driven too. I noticed that like Indian Pakistani communities are more insular, whereas African American communities are more, they feel perfectly fine in their skin, identifying themselves as Muslims. I think some of it might be from the colonialism that Muslims experienced from Britain. They kind of still carry some of that mentality, some of those mental handicaps. Have you seen that at all?
Actually, yeah, I do agree with you a little bit on that. That I think it does have to do a little bit of that. But speaking about the masjid that I'm affiliated with, Islamic Center of Wheaton, this is probably one of the most diverse mosques that you will see here in the Chicagoland area. Right. We have people from Egypt to Palestine to to Jordan, to Kenya, to Libya, any place, most of the major places that you can think of, of course, India and Pakistan that are there. Now, this is the distinguishing factor that I believe, that distinguishes this particular Islamic Center compared to some of the other ones, which might be mainly, either Arab dominated or, either Indian or Pakistani dominated. One of the issues that I have experienced is, it's not necessarily colonialism and all of that too. I think a lot of this is also driven by religion. What I mean by that is mainly fiqh perspective, from fiqh issues.
Right.
That for example, if we're talking about a mosque that might be predominantly Indian or Pakistani, it tends to be a majority of it would be following the Hanafi fiqh. Most of that, the masajid, a lot of people, majority of them, we're starting to change that now, but a majority of them are, were established by our elders from our parents' generations, right, that, grew up, a good part of their life in India or Pakistan, and then they came here. And this is, the only fiqh that they know is what they were raised with. And now when they come here, and when we have people from, other parts of the world who may not necessarily be from that, school of thought, for them to adapt to that change, I think is where the problem stems from. That no, we got some person, who's praying without a cap, or his pants are above his, not above his ankles, or some have gone even to the extreme that I've heard this myself, that he's coming to the masjid and he's wearing, his shirt, he's got half sleeves on.
Wow. Yeah.
So if we have this kind of mindset, then I don't see any progress that is going to be made. It's going to remain as a place, as an exclusive place. It's going to remain as an exclusive place that only people with a certain mindset, that are going to be felt as if they're welcome there. And we need to get past these, these issues.
How do you get past those differences, though?
I think
what do you guys specifically do to get past this? I mean, especially when you're doing interfaith, I mean, you can't have mixed signals. I mean, how do you communicate a single message? How do you tell them, hey, this is what Islam is, not, we do Eid 2 different days, or no, there's Zabihah, non-Zabihah. How do you get past, how do you spread the central theme of Islam?
Yeah, when you're talking about outreach and interfaith, I really don't like to use the word interfaith that much, because to me, I think faith comes later. What comes first is, the importance for us to understand each other first. Then I think we build on that, and that's primarily what we're focusing on. When we have these types of events, when we have guests that are not Muslims that come and visit the mosque, we're not going to discuss with them, I eat meat that is only slaughtered by hand, and he's going to eat the one that is, slaughtered by a machine, or he's going to eat something that was shot, or he's going to eat someone that was killed, roadkill or something. Right. We don't discuss these issues, because these are issues, from a fiqh perspective, there's a lot of, even amongst the scholars, historically, there has been a lot of disagreement, and there's a difference of opinion. So we leave that, and let's talk about, getting to know each other first. This is who I am. This is what I do for a living. For example, for myself, this is not my full-time job. I don't work at the masjid full-time. Yeah. I'm an IT professional. I work downtown 5 days a week. This is just something that I do, in the evenings and on the weekends, and as much as I can. So this is something that a lot of the people that are not Muslims that come and visit the mosque, that they find this fascinating, that, hey, wait a minute, the Muslims seems like they're educated as well. Seems, oh my God, they're doctors and engineers, wow, and surgeons. Yeah. And that's exactly what I said too. We're humans too. Come and know us. Yeah. Come and get to know us. We have families. We have children. we're looking to get married as well. We have issues, we have bills to pay. Let's build on that. All of us, we have common struggles.
And I think that's really crazy how the media can do that. They can actually put the light on somebody in that way and just make everyone think that these are just some monsters that are just hiding away. And no, like you said, we're humans. All the needs that humans have, we do too.
Yeah,
and all the aspirations that humans have, we have that too.
One of the other things that we had done at these events is we've actually given them a complete tour of the mosque as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Can you walk us through one of these events?
Yeah, the way that we have organized these events, and various mosques have done this in different ways. Some of them, they have done more of a formal program. People come and sit, and there's a presentation about Islam and Muslims, and then if they have any questions, then they ask the questions, and then there might be some food or snacks, and they take that, and they eat, and they socialize maybe for a little bit, and then that's the end of the day. We decided not to go with that route. We decided to keep it as informal as possible. We didn't want to have any presentations. We didn't want to have any PowerPoints or anything like that. We wanted to keep it as informal as possible. Come in, we got a hall, we use it as a cafeteria. Come in, have a seat, grab something to eat. Let's talk to each other. Let's get to know each other. And then from there, let's discuss, what Islam is, what Muslims are, and then we build from there. So we kept it as informal as possible. One of the things that we had was we gave a tour of the facility. And like I mentioned earlier, the place that we're in now used to be a church before. And when we moved in, since we've moved in, we have, done as minimal change as possible. The major changes we've done is we've changed the carpet, we put in an audio system. That's about it. And, this is crazy, but if you look at, even how the building is aligned, which, like I said, used to be a former church, it's aligned directly in the direction of the Qibla. So we had we didn't have to make any changes at all. We just moved in and started using it from day one. Now, one of the things that we did was we gave them a tour of the place. And, this is what happens here. This is what goes on in this room. This is what this class, either it's a class or if we use it as an office, and we give them a complete tour.
There's no bomb making factories.
That's what we wanted to show them. That's what we wanted to show them.
Transparency is awesome. I mean, it's unfortunate we have to do that, but transparency it's really awesome.
Yeah, this is what you're saying. Exactly the same thing. Even the Muslims have said it too. Yeah. Even when we were planning this, one of the person who was on the board of the masjid, this is exactly what he said. We want to show them that we're not building anything in here. Okay. So this had a huge impact. Some of the guests that came, we had a question and answer session. Myself was there. We also had another scholar, Sheikh Ramadan Khan. He was there as well, and to answer any questions that people may have. So during my during the tour, at the end of the tour, we opened the floor to any question and answer. And we had some people who were asking, just general questions about, how we pray, how many times, and things of that nature. And at that time, there was one gentleman who was, probably in his 50s or 60s. He raised his hand and he said, I have a question. And he said, are we open is the floor open for any kind of questions? I said, yes. He said, what about, I've heard a lot about this, what about, Muslims are obligated to kill the non-Muslims, as I often hear with this whole thing that's going on with ISIS and all these things. I said, if that was the case, you would not be standing here. Okay, if that was the case, you would not be standing here. This is the whole reason why we're having this event, to address these issues.
Right.
And he didn't know what to say.
Yeah, of course. Well, now, you talked a little bit about your mosque and how, and I've been to your mosque for the past few weeks. One of the most, thing that's most apparent about your mosque is it's very tolerant. How do you stamp out these voices of intolerance that's plaguing a lot of these mosques around the country? Just people who want to cause problems based on, a minor fiqhi opinion. How does your mosque and its leadership deal with these problems?
if you're talking about fiqh issues, how do we deal with it? Up until now, we never had any issues that had to do with any fiqh differences. And part of the reason why, again, I think,
let's say you did, how would you guys handle it? Because it seems like your mosque doesn't have these problems, at least not yet. Inshallah, it doesn't. But how would you guys approach that kind of a problem? For example, some mosques in this country, they don't like the whole idea of interfaith at all. Mm-hmm. How would you suggest a mosque handle that? The leadership of that mosque handle that?
Well,
I think every situation is different. I think you just have to assess it. The age of the person who's causing an issue, what question he's asking, right? I mean, but you can answer that better because you guys have a very awesome special case of a masjid. But
it depends what the issue is. But
right.
Even before that, I think one of the reasons why we don't have these kind of issues is because of the diversity of the mosque. Right. That people know that there's more than one way to do a thing. As long as, this is what fiqh is. As long as there's evidence for it, the scholars, they have an opinion about this, we're okay with it. Now, we're not talking about crazy people who just want to reject Quran outright or reject Ahadith outright. That's a different thing. And when we're talking about, extremism and ISIS and all those kind of things, we address these kinds, hot topics. Right. We have, one of the things that we have at the mosque is a monthly program, which is every Saturday. And every Saturday we have a different speaker, that's going to talk about a different subject, whatever it is, whether it is about food or medicine or, marital issues or social issues, like last month we had someone who was an expert in finance when it comes to Islam. So these kinds of issues. Similarly, we also talked about, some of the hot issues that are there. And I think to continue engaging in this dialogue with the community is very important and not wait until, something is said and done and then come to address it. Yeah.
Prevention is better than cure. And one thing, I met a lot of the board members, and one thing that they have that most masjids don't have is they're all very good friends. All the board members are at the masjid all of the time. Yeah. And they all have a good understanding of Islam.
And they know each other.
They all know each other, and they actually have a good, decent understanding of Islam. And when people are talking and they're given a platform, they give them their due respect. And having the combination of all of that it's not easy to find. Oh, yeah. And that's why people are always saying ICW is doing this and ICW is doing that. Right? I heard ICW is, and we should do it like they did it because ICW did it this way and they had success. And, you joined, the ICW team, and there was definitely a change that occurred after you joined. And what is it that you did that incorporated change? Because I saw it, even though I'm not a regular there. But I saw that change occur. So what voice do you have and what do you bring to the table? To them.
What kind of change did it have? What did you see? What change?
I saw a lot of a lot more youth talking about it, and I saw just the change of having more activities there. The interfaith thing just skyrocketed from when you joined them. I think that's what I observed.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the youth coming to the masjid and stuff, this is actually one of the primary goals of the masjid that the masjid is actually founded on. Is we want to empower the youth. And a lot of masajid say that, a lot of people say this, but in reality, we see, there's really no meaning behind it and there's no action behind it. We just say it to make ourselves feel better. Over here, there's a youth program which is run mainly by the youth, on Fridays. We give them, complete freedom to do whatever they want, talk about whatever they want. We have different programs. We have, speakers that come, that talk to them as well.
Do you put them in responsibility positions too, the youth?
Yeah, the youth, we put, the ones who are mature, the ones who are a little bit older, maybe 15, 16, 18, that range. We put them in charge of their own programs. So they, and they work with their age group to come up and see what they want to talk about, what they want to discuss.
That is
and
cool.
we're there to guide them. Of
Very
course,
nice.
we're there to guide them, but we want to give them as much control as possible. The masjid, we can say, is, open almost 24 hours. It closes after Isha, but not right after Isha. Maybe 2-3 hours, depending.
Yeah.
If people are hanging out. It's just a place that people go to meet each other, to relax, to have a good time.
Yeah.
And, the people, the best part about it is, the people actually feel welcomed here. Like you have, Sim, you have experiences. Omer, you have experiences.
I went there and they just bought a meal out of nowhere in the conference room, and we're there like 2 hours after Isha just eating and talking. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
So, you feel like you want to go to this place.
Right.
The youth feel, they feel like, they want to be there. They're not there just because their parents are dragging them there.
Right.
They feel like, they can participate in it. And when it comes to maybe, for example, the main prayer hall or something, a lot of the masajid, I don't know about a lot, but I know a few of them, they're very strict about having children in the main prayer hall. They don't want them there, or they don't want them in the front rows. They want them separate. They want them in the back or something like that. And I believe that, it is true to an extent, if it's causing a lot of disturbance or something, yeah, that's another issue. But if we put these restrictions on our children, especially when they're at a very, young age, where they're learning about Islam, where they're learning about deen, and if we put these restrictions on them, it's only going to turn them away.
Right. Right.
Have there been any problems with the mosque being in Wheaton?
Actually, the response has been, much better than what we had expected and what we had anticipated, because we didn't know what to expect, this being the first Islamic Center being established in Wheaton, in a former church, having two churches next to us as our neighbors. We didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And this is, having these kind of events, broke down any kind of barriers, any kind of myths that were there, any kind of misunderstanding that were there, that, hey, the Muslims are here, and, they're just like us. They're people like us. They're just going about, doing their own thing. Other than that, there's really not much difference between us. And I believe, this is also, a misunderstanding that, unfortunately, I think a lot of Muslims they have this as well, that we are, as Muslims, our objective is to convert others to Islam, is to convert them. But when we look at Islam and when we look at historically as well, that's really not our objective. Our objective is to present Islam to the best of our ability, and then it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them. If it was in our hands, if it was in the hands of humans, then we look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ and his uncle, Abu Talib, who was with him for more than 40 years, who stayed with him, who protected him, who fought with him, who struggled with him, who stood by the Prophet ﷺ during the social boycott that the Meccans did. He did all of that. But at the time when he was about to die, the Prophet ﷺ had asked him to say the Shahada. He did not say the Shahada. At this time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ, that guidance is not in your hands, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Peace and blessings be upon you. It's in the hands of Allah. You don't guide whom you choose.
Yeah.
You don't guide whom you love. This is in the hands of Allah. So we have to do our best to present Islam to the general population, to the world, and it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them. We don't force this religion on anyone.
Right.
Guidance is in the hands of Allah.
Now, with all the successes you've had, now recently you've met a challenge with someone who's committing some sort of criminal activity online regarding your masjid. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on?
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't call it a challenge. What I would call it is a reaffirmation or reconfirmation about the kind of work that we're doing, that we are definitely, for sure headed in the right direction. What happened last week was a cyber attack that happened on the site of the masjid. Now, the masjid, the website of the masjid itself was not attacked. Well, I'll take it a step back. What happened was last Friday, not this Friday, the one before that.
Can you give the date? Just so, because this podcast is going to be released later.
Let's see.
Let me take care of it. You continue. I'll guide it.
I think the 8th. The 8th of January.
Okay.
After Jummah, we had an officer that visited the mosque from the Wheaton Police Department. And he talked to some of the board members. And he told us that, we have received some emails claiming to be from Islamic Center of Wheaton. And these emails were sent to the mayor of Wheaton, a few businessmen, few places of worship, and few individuals. And the emails claim to be coming from Islamic Center of Wheaton, on behalf of Islamic Center of Wheaton, and claiming all kinds of things that we are here to take over Wheaton. We are supporters of ISIS, and these kinds of things.
Oh, my.
So we had a visit from one of the officers that came to find out, hey, what's going on, guys?
What are you guys up to? What you guys cooking?
We received this email from you. So it was immediately determined that, this did not come from us, because the genius that had sent that, or the group of geniuses that had sent it, it came from a Gmail account. Okay. It was ICW Online or ICW Today or something like that at gmail.com, and they knew that our official email address is official ICWOnline.org. .org is the official email.
And they what don't they like about what are they trying to deliver?
Yeah, what happens is they had determined that this was not our job. This was someone else's job that has sent out this email. And what that email contained was a bunch of information about Islam and Muslims, a bunch of negative things. Islam and Muslims, they're barbarians and they're murderers and all of these things. And then also contained a link to a website. And when you click on that link, that will lead you to a website. The website that was set up was very similar to the official site of the masjid itself, of the mosque itself. A lot of the information was copied from there. Some of the information that was copied from there was we had put up a bunch of pictures and letters of support that we had received just a couple of weeks ago, and that actually came, and this is all going back to the outreach work that we have been doing. So what happened was a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, one of the candidates that's running for the presidency, he had said a bunch of negative things about Islam and Muslims, and how they should not be allowed here, and things of that nature. So because of that, unexpectedly we had a lot of outpouring show of support and solidarity from our friends and neighbors, including Wheaton Bible College, that came to the masjid, that visited the masjid, that gave us, cards and flowers, and said, this is not what this country is about, and we don't know what this guy is talking about, and we stand together with you, and you're welcome in this neighborhood. So we had put a lot of those messages up on our website, and a lot of those pictures as well. Now, the fake website that was created had copied a lot of that content over onto this website, but they had edited that, the wordings of it, and try to present it in a negative manner. And there was actually a section on the website that also talked about why the site was created. And when I read this, this was reaffirming to me that what we're doing, we are on the right track. What it said was, this site exists to push back against well-meaning but naive Wheaton Christians and residents who are sleepwalking into a place that they will regret in the future. So this attack was really not against Islam and Muslims, but in in reality, it was an attack against the Christians and the other members of faith that are working to build these bridges with the Muslims.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's seeking to drive a wedge between two communities who are trying to get along and trying to understand each other. Wow. But where do we go from here? How do we get past these type of people who are trying to, we have some of these people in our community. We have people who don't want interfaith for reasons like they say, interfaith causes people to compromise their religion, and they want to. We're going to give up our religion by meeting non-Muslims. What do you have to say to those people?
If there are Muslims that are saying this, then I would, humbly and politely request them to go back and study their deen further. And then I'm not sure where they come to this conclusion that when we're engaging in this dialogue, we are, compromising our faith. We're compromising our deen. This is absolutely not what we're doing. And this is actually one of the reasons why I got myself involved in this work, is I want to avoid us from doing this. Because some of the people that they have this fear, it is, unfortunately, some of it is true. Because some of the Muslims who are doing this work, they've taken it to a whole different level, and they've taken it to another extreme where they've, as Muslims, they have made claims, as far as saying, there's really no difference between our faiths, and, all three are Abrahamic faiths, and all three, will lead you to God, and you pick any one and you'll be successful. That is true to an extent. A Muslim's belief is, the Muslims the people who lived during Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam's time, during Jesus' time, who believed in his message, yes, they are going to go to paradise. The Muslims who lived during Musa alayhi salam's time, during Moses' time, the people who lived at that time, who believed in him, of course they're going to go to paradise. But a Muslim's belief is the people who, who are living in the world and who will continue to be born until the end of times, after the coming of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, the final prophet and the final messenger of God. There's no other religion that will be accepted by Allah on the day of judgment other than Islam. This is what we believe in, and we're not ashamed to say this, just as Christians would tell you that too, that their way is the right way to do it.
Exactly.
But we're saying the same thing, but the difference is we're not forcing this on them, and this is where people get them, either they're confused or I don't know what the deal is, that we don't need to engage in this kind of work. We're compromising our faith or these kinds of things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually instructed us in the Quran how to do this da'wah, how we invite them to Islam. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, for example, to the people of the book specifically, the Christians and the Jews, because they're all Abrahamic faith, no question about it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically has told us how to address them, that قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ أَلَّا نَعْبُدَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that, O people of the book, come together so that we can come to an agreement that we worship no one but God, we ascribe no partners to him. Okay, and the ayah is a bit long. إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ أَلَّا نَعْبُدَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَلَا نُشْرِكَ بِهِ شَيْئًا, we don't ascribe any partners to him. وَلَا يَتَّخِذَ بَعْضُنَا بَعْضًا أَرْبَابًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَقُولُوا اشْهَدُوا بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ. And after we engage in this dialogue with them, and if they don't agree with you, which they have the right to, we cannot force this on them. La ikraha fi deen. There's no compulsion in this religion. We don't force this on them. And if they don't agree to do it, فَقُولُوا اشْهَدُوا بِأَنَّا مُسْلِمُونَ, then let them know that we are Muslims. End of story. You
have
go
a stance.
your way, we go our way.
Right.
We're not forcing this on you.
It's just encouraging us to have a stance. That you're
Yes.
Muslim and that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
And this is something that we have to understand, that we are Muslims. Alhamdulillah, this is a great, what we want to call,
the greatest blessing.
The greatest blessings, the greatest blessing that we can have, that Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims. We're not, Islam is not a new religion. Islam was not founded by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we believe in Prophet Muhammad, we are believing in all of the other prophets and messengers that came before him. We're not, singling any one of them out. This is the beauty of Islam, that we are saying that this is the same message coming from all of the previous prophets and messengers that came before him.
What do you guys do to educate the community? I mean, specifically the Muslims.
The Muslims, we have a new Muslim class, which is on Sundays.
Okay.
This is for people who may have just accepted Islam, reverts. We want to call who probably have reverted to Islam. We have a class for them. We also have tafsir class. We have a dars on the life of the Prophet ﷺ, which I do as well.
What books do you use, if you don't mind me asking, just so we can get that out there so people know where the references are coming from?
When you're talking about what?
Sirah, well, as far as Sirah, your personal dars. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that, you're very well read in these things, but is there any specific book that you use as a foundation, or?
There are a few that I use. There's
Nice.
this one that I focus on. There's a few of them that I use, which I will not share them with you.
Secret, okay. It's your secret potion.
But if you attend my dars, you will get all the references that you need.
Very cool. Just for the listeners, so they're well aware.
I try my best not to put mix my interpretation or my opinion in there. This is why I use a variety of
Beautiful.
Of resources of books that are there, and then present that to the public. If you want to know which books I use, I'll tell you, but you got to come to the dars.
I will.
One of my concerns with interfaith is you have that fear that there might be some people from within our community who might join and might give some dawah that doesn't really reflect Islam and might be misrepresenting Islam to the non-Muslims that are visiting. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question. We actually experienced that in the open mosque day that we had. There was myself representing, as a scholar, as a scholar, and we had Sheikh Ramadan Khan as well, who's the resident scholar of Islamic Center of Wheaton, who were there as well. Now, in addition to that, what happened is we had a good turnout from the Muslims as well that were there. And one of the things that we notice is, all of a sudden, everyone becomes an expert on Islam. Okay? And we actually overheard people having conversation on a table. And I'll give you one particular example. One sister who came to the masjid. We've never seen her there. She's not someone who attends the masjid regularly. When she was there, she was very enthusiastic about the deen and talking to our guests that had come to the mosque to learn more about Islam and Muslims. And she just went on and on and on. And then she said this statement, that, we really don't follow the Prophet as well. We don't follow him either. We only believe in God and we only believe in Quran.
Oh my God.
So this was very dangerous.
Wow.
Not only is it dangerous for our guests that are there to learn about Islam and Muslims, but it's more dangerous for her aqidah, for her belief.
Yeah.
That now she is just saying that we don't even follow the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. We're just, we're done with him. We just follow the Quran and we just follow God. So this is a problem that we had people, who are not qualified to speak about Islam and to speak, on behalf of Islam, that were interjecting themselves in this kind of thing. So one of the things that we had done in the next event that we had was, right in the beginning, we're still working on this. If you got any ideas, you can let us know. We're still working on this. One of the things that we had thought about, we wear, name tags or color-coded or something that indicates to the people, to the guests that are coming that, these are the people who you can ask questions, who can answer questions for you.
Right.
So we're still working on.
Okay, that's a good idea.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, definitely giving your guests some sort of indication so that they know who they're talking to. That somebody who
cuts out the chatter.
Who
Cuts
can
out
speak,
the chatter, yeah.
Who can speak? Who has the authority to speak about Islam?
Exactly, authority. Yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah.
So, lastly, before we wrap things up, tell us about what happened with the professor from Wheaton College who wore the hijab and got in some trouble.
The professor from Wheaton College, Dr. Larissa Hawkins,
Yes.
I believe her name. This is an incident that happened about 3 weeks ago or something. This is a professor from Wheaton College that had chosen, after consulting with CARE, the organization CARE, Council of American Islamic Relationship, she had consulted with them as well, and she, based on what was happening with the Muslims being demonized and sidelined and all these things, she decided to wear the hijab as a sign, as a symbol of solidarity with the Muslims, with the women in particular. And she also posted a posting on her Facebook page where she had said that, we Muslims and Christians, they worship the same God. Now, this is where the problem happened for her when the Wheaton College had put her on a leave pending investigation as to what she's doing. Now, their explanation, the college's explanation is, we have no problem with her wearing the hijab. The problem that we have is her statement saying that we worship the same God. So this is the problem that we have. This is against our beliefs. And there's a huge discussion that they have amongst themselves, and even what I have read in the newspaper so far, even the community on the college campus is divided on this particular matter. On this particular matter. Now, as being an Islamic Center in Wheaton, we sent an official letter to the professor, expressing our gratitude and commending her for her actions to choosing to stand together with the Muslims. We certainly respect her for that. We have also invited her, sent her an open invitation to come visit the mosque so we can engage in a dialogue together where we can address these issues, because, this is something that we have to work on together. This is not just Islam or Muslims that have to do this together. This is, a struggle together that we need to do. So we have sent her an open invitation.
Well, has she ever come to the mosque before?
No, until now she has not.
Also, she just did that on her own without even coming to the mosque or anything.
So we have invited her over to come and visit Islamic Center of Wheaton so we can show her, appreciation for what she has done, deciding to stand in solidarity with the Muslims. But for a while we had not heard anything from her. But after we established contact with her, we found out that she was not engaging any speaking opportunities or any invitations, because the matter was still ongoing with Wheaton College between her and them. So, and it was a legal matter. So because of that reason, she was not entertaining any invitations at that time. But as most people know, that has been resolved within the past 2 to 3 weeks, and she's parting ways with the college. And ever since then, she's visited a lot of the masajids, a lot of the organizations. For example, she was a speaker at the annual dinner for CARE. She spoke at that. Just last weekend, she was at this event called DuPace United on Sunday, I believe. She was a speaker at that as well. And we have extended another invitation to her to actually attend our annual fundraising dinner, which is on March 12th.
March 12th.
March 12th. Mark that date on your calendar.
2016,
which is, not that far away. And she has accepted the invitation, and she's going to be there as a guest speaker. We have expressed it to her in a letter, as well as we've gone on record indicating, we appreciate what she has done. We are with her. We stand with her. We support her, and not just her. We stand together with anyone and everyone who stands up against any kind of injustice and any kind of oppression, any kind of discrimination, whether it's against Muslims or whether it's against African Americans, whether it's against
any minority.
Any minority, it doesn't matter.
Beautiful. One quick thing is, I know the dinner's on the 16th.
It's on the 12th.
Sorry, the 12th. My bad.
March 12th, not 16th.
March 12th, yes, 2016. I was thinking 2016. Can you give us a little teaser of or what she may be discussing or what she's going to be talking about? Because everybody wants to hear what she has to say, maybe about what happened at the college, but is she even going to talk about that? You know, can you just give us a little, you know?
I mean, there was a lot of drama.
There was a lot of drama, and to be honest, I don't know what she's gonna talk about, but I have some ideas. I think that what she's gonna talk about, because the whole controversy started from what the college has said, and what they had said was, we have no problem with her wearing the hijab in solidarity with the Muslim women, but what we do have a problem with is her statement saying that the Muslims and Christians, we worship the same God, and according to them, this goes against their fundamental beliefs. And we, as Muslims, we say that there's only one God, and we say that we all worship the same God. Yes, there's fundamental differences, no question about it. A Muslim is not a Christian is not a Muslim. There's fundamental differences, mainly when it comes to, for example, Jesus, Isa alayhi salam.
Yeah.
That, the Christian belief is that he's either the Son of God, the Spirit of God, or three in one. But we say that he's not. When we say there are some common things that we believe in, such as his birth was, was a miracle.
Yeah.
He was born without a father. And his mother, which is mentioned in the Quran, actually, an entire chapter is Surah Al-Maryam is dedicated to her, and her being the only woman that is mentioned by name in the Quran.
Yeah.
So there is some things that is common between us, but there are fundamental differences as well.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that people should take home from this is that despite these differences, we don't necessarily have to agree on that, and we're not agreeing on that.
Yeah.
And this has been like that historically. There's always been Muslims, there's always Christians, there's always Jews, there's always Hindus, there's always atheists, you have all these different faiths. But the key thing that I hope that everyone can learn from this is, despite these differences, there are a lot of things that we can work together that are common, that is beneficial for all the communities, all the people of faith, regardless of what faith they have or no faith.
Beautiful.
That's what I think.
Very well said.
The biggest thing people should take from this.
Very well said.
Regardless of faith, let's work together on common issues that are impacting you and I, that we are living, that are impacting us in the city or the town that we're living in. Let's work together for a better future, for a better tomorrow.
Yeah. And a lot of counselors, Muslims, they will look at what a lot of churches are doing for counseling, because they have a lot of cool programs and stuff for counseling, and whether it's drug abuse or marriage counseling, and we use that as a model, and we're not ashamed to say that we use some counseling methods from the Christians, and we're thankful to them for that. They have some awesome programs that are very that bring a lot of zeal inside of us. So it's really cool.
That's actually a very good point. That's another thing that we're trying to accomplish from this whole outreach program that we're doing here at ICW, is we want to put this picture in front of people who are not familiar with the Muslims, that look, we are humans just like you. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's how it is, because this Muslims,
it sucks. We have to make that whole
Muslims have been, demonized and dehumanized, that we have to start right from the bottom and say that, hey, look, we're also humans. We have the same issues that you guys have. We have social issues. We have drug abuse. We have people who abuse their spouses. We have people who steal. We have people who commit murder. It's unfortunate, but it's true, and this is reality. And these are issues that we have to address together.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you mentioned that this is what you're trying to do at ICW, and that's awesome. And may Allah make everything easy for you guys and your collaboration with everybody else around you. So what is it you're trying to achieve? What is the end goal? What results are you looking for? Why are you putting so much time into this masjid?
Well, to answer that question, the way that I see it and the way that the leadership at the masjid sees it, that this is an opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us, has blessed us with, to present Islam to a community that anyone who looks up Wheaton, you know that you will find that this is one of the most conservative cities in the country and one of the most Christian cities in the country. And statistics tells and the data tells us that within 3 to 4 mile radius, there are about 40 to 45 churches in Wheaton. The masjid itself is what used to be a former church, and our neighbors next door, 2 neighbors next door, are churches.
Wow.
In this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us an opportunity to establish this masjid, this house of Allah, and present Islam to the people who are not familiar with it. And I think this is the need of the hour now. Yes, there are a lot of things people are doing, a lot of work people are doing, but I think this is one of the key things that needs to happen, and we're seeing a lot of that. And that is to present Islam to people of other faith. It doesn't matter what faith they are. It could be Christians, it could be Jews, it could be, you know, what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to do, because one of the things that we see today, almost every day you wake up, you open the news, you see, you know, some kind of, attack against Muslims, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical. Maybe some sister was harassed because of her hijab. Some guy was yelled at or abused at because of his beard. Some guy was, shoved or thrown.
Some Sikhs that aren't, Sikhs aren't even Muslim.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Sikhs are having to pay the price for this because they're being mistaken for being Muslims because of the turban that they're wearing.
Yeah.
So all of this goes back to the climate that we're living in, the climate of Islamophobia.
Yeah.
And when we look at the word itself, it's very important for us to understand. Oftentimes we hear this word Islamophobia. But what does it really mean? When you look at the definition of phobia, let's look at the definition of phobia, and what do we find from there? We see that the definition of phobia is basically an anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder that is characterized by extreme and traditional fear of something that is simple, or that happens because people. This is something that's unknown to them.
Yeah.
And if it's unknown to them, this is something that they are not comfortable with and that they fear. So we are here to announce to the community of Wheaton and everyone else that you want to know about Islam, you want to know about Muslims, come learn it from the Muslims.
Alleviate the anxiety.
And present Islam to them.
Yeah.
On the same token, I also want to say, because this is one of the concerns that some of the Muslims have expressed as well, that what kind of work are we doing? Are we compromising our faith? Are we compromising our deen? Because this is something that has been expressed by some of the brothers and sisters.
You're talking about your work as what you're doing at ICW.
Yes, the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate concern too, because what are we doing, and how come that everyone is happy with us? But that's not really the case. There are people who are not happy with the work that we're doing, and I've talked about this earlier too. The cyber attack that happened on the masjid website was done by the people who don't want people to know the truth about Islam.
They don't want people to know the true and clean, pure understanding of Islam. Yes.
Exactly. Our objective, to answer your question, is to present Islam to the people. We are not here to convert anyone. That's not in our hands. Guidance is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
Our job is to deliver the message, and that is what we're here to do.
Yes.
If someone wants to become a Muslim, that's on them, and that's up to them, and we hope that they do.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
course.
But we are not going to force anyone. We're not here to force anyone.
Yeah.
If someone wants to become a Muslim, no one is going to stop them. We're not going to be able to stop them, and no one else is going to be able to stop them. That's a personal decision that they're making.
We just don't want anyone to be prevented from the amazingness of Islam. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we are saying the same thing that people of other faiths are saying too. Namely, I can say that the Christians are saying, that the Jews are saying too, that we are saying we're on the right path. Let's not cover this up. We are saying that we are on the right path. We are on the truth, and this is the only path that will lead you to paradise.
Yes.
And they also believe the same thing too.
Of course.
So we are saying the same thing, and we are here to discuss this.
Yeah.
We're not here to force this on you.
Yeah.
As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, and we firmly believe in this, that inna deena inda Allahi Islam. This is what we believe in, that the only religion that will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment is Islam.
Yeah.
And we are here to present this.
Yeah.
And we leave the choice up to you. And ultimately, we leave it in the hands of Allah to guide whom He chooses. And the biggest example of this from the life of the Prophet ﷺ that we can see is the example of his uncle Abu Talib.
Yeah.
For 40 years, what did he not do for the Prophet ﷺ, who lived with him, who struggled with him, who endured the social boycott for 3 to 4 years? He did not have to do that because the boycott was only against the Muslims, if you remember.
Yes.
But him being the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, he was so close to the Prophet ﷺ that he was there for him. He protected him. He defended him against anything and everything.
Yeah.
And then, but what happens in the end?
Yeah.
That he died, and this is the belief of the majority of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that when he died, when Abu Talib died, he died as a non-Muslim.
Yeah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses at that time.
Yeah.
إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ, that it is not up to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to guide whom you love. It's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
And this is, we firmly believe in this.
Yeah.
We are here to present the picture, present Islam to them, and guidance is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the contrary, you look at the example, and this we draw our inspiration from the Quran and the Sunnah, the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah.
And another example, we look at the example of Omer radiallahu ta'ala. What was he before Islam, and what was he doing? One day, we all know the story of how he became a Muslim.
Yeah.
He was on his way to go and kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he said, "I'm going to put an end to this."
Yeah.
And we have many people today that are doing that too.
Yeah.
And a lot of these stories are playing out across the country as well.
Of course.
That people who didn't know anything about Islam, and when they find out about Islam, when they find out about Muslims, they realize that, we didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And Umar, on one hand, he's on his way to go kill the Prophet ﷺ, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens his heart.
Yeah.
And he ends up accepting Islam, and look at where he is at today. Resting alongside with the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr Siddiq forever.
Yeah.
His name ingrained in the history of Islam forever until the end of times.
Yeah.
This is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He guides whom He chooses.
One last question I had is, just before we wrap up, what are some lessons that other mosques can take from this in terms of being open and welcoming people of the community?
Lessons, I guess the main lesson that other mosques can learn, and I'm seeing that it is headed in that direction, is that we have to come out of this, hiding, if you want to call it, or this comfort zone that we are in within our mosques and within our houses, and that's it. I mean, we have just confined Islam to these places. That's it. When we go to work, we don't want to look like a Muslim. We don't want to be identified as a Muslim. We want to change our names, and we go to extreme lengths. Not all of them, but some do. Go to these lengths. But we got to understand that this is. This is not something that we have to be afraid of, nor do we have to be ashamed of. So we have to come out of this comfort zone and start building these bridges with the communities that we're living in.
Right.
It's very important for us to have these relationships with our neighbors, regardless of their faith. And actually, this is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, that the rights that the neighbors have, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنبِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to be to be kind to our neighbors and to be nice to them. And this ayah in particular talks about being nice and kind to our parents, to the orphans, to the neighbors, to our relatives, to the strangers that we meet. And nowhere in the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about religion. So this tells us that this is the hukum is a general hukum regardless of religion.
To be a good human being.
To be a good human being. This is what Islam teaches us. This is what Islam is about. It talks about respecting parents, for example. The ayah talks about that. So it doesn't say that you only respect your parents if they're Muslims. If they're not Muslims, then you treat them the way that you want to. It doesn't say that. Same thing with the neighbors. So much so that the Prophet ﷺ in one hadith has told us that مَا زَالَ جِبْرِيلُ يُوصِينِي بِالْجَارِ حَتَّى ظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُ سَيُوَرِّثُهُ. That the Prophet ﷺ has told us that Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel Gabriel that used to come with the revelation on the Prophet ﷺ, he used to remind him so much of the neighbor's rights that the Prophet ﷺ said that until I thought that they would be part of my inheritance, that inheritance would be mandated for them. This is how important it is. And in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told us that خَيْرُ الْأَصْحَابِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرُهُمْ لِصَاحِبِهِ وَخَيْرُ الْجِيرَانِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرُهُمْ لِجَارِهِ. That the best companion, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are those who are the best with their friends, and the best neighbors, according to Allah, are the ones who are best with their neighbors. So let us, come back to this and understand this, and know and understand that this, has nothing to do with deen, with religion. Let us be, good neighbors and set an example. Make our communities models for others to follow. And I'll give you some statistics. For example, one of the things that we had done, again, we come back to some of the events that we had done. We posted, pictures of, dialogue having with friends and neighbors, in particular from Wheaton College. We put one post that we had made, and this is about 2 weeks ago. Right now, I'll tell you, we have a lot more people who are not Muslims who are following our Facebook page than we have Muslims that are following it.
Wow.
Okay? One of the posts that we had made was about the dialogue that we had and how we had visitors that came and visited us with flowers and cards and all that. And to everyone's surprise, actually to my surprise as well, within a matter of about 48 hours, that post was viewed by 65,000 people all across the country.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Okay, this is the kind of work that's happening here. And all of those things that I talked about here, the Open Mosque Day and the Latino Day and all that, all of that can be viewed on our channel. Wow. Islamic Center of Wheaton, just type that in YouTube, and you can see the khutbahs and all the programs that we have going on over there.
What's a good contact people can reach you guys at?
You can send us an email at info@icwonline.org, or you can send a message on Facebook, and we'll get back to you within seconds. Within seconds.
Who usually responds to those? Who usually responds to those?
For the Facebook, we have a few admins. I'm one of them as well.
Okay, so that's why it's right away.
That's what it says. Our statistics. That's what it says on our Facebook page, and I'm not making that up.
And do you guys have a Twitter handle and stuff too?
We have a Twitter handle. We do have it, but we're not that active on there because
understandable. Yeah,
we have a lot more to say than what Twitter allows us to say.
Exactly. And you were mentioning you guys have a fundraising dinner coming up in March. Can you just, before we conclude, can you just tell us a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of people are interested in everything ICW is doing now.
Yeah, actually, the fundraising dinner, and this is a yearly. We only have one dinner throughout the year, and this year the fundraising dinner is on March 12th. Which is a Saturday, 2016, in Shalimar Banquet Hall, which is in Addison, North Avenue, a new one that just opened up. We had the dinner last year at Drury Lane, and at that dinner we had a crowd of approximately 1,200 people that came. So this year we're expecting a bigger crowd than that.
Very nice. And do you guys have any guest speakers, or do you know of that right now, who the guest speakers are, and maybe even pricing on tickets so people just have a heads up?
As far as the speakers, we're still working on finalizing that. But the tickets, they can be purchased. You can purchase the tickets online as well. Or anyone you see at the masjid, you can purchase. Tickets are $60 for individual and $300 for a family, for maximum of 6 people. You can also purchase a full table if you like. I think it's for $750.
Very reasonable.
For a table of 10. And all of the proceeds, all of this goes, of course, to the masjid. We have we have bigger projects that are coming up. Right now, our biggest goal for this year, which inshallah we are on the track to accomplish it, is to pay the masjid off, which is almost done. I think we have about $500,000, a little less than $500,000 left to pay it off. Once we've paid that off, we have other major projects in the works that we're thinking about. For those of you who have visited the mosque, you know the property is about 7 acres, a little over 7 acres, or right around 7 acres. The next major project that we're thinking about is building a gym for the kids.
A football stadium?
A football stadium, inshallah, we can get. We'll get that done too. So, but right now we're thinking about a gym. So, but that's not the priority. The priority right now is to pay the property off, and then that will free us to focus on other projects as well.
Awesome. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Omer Haqqani, for coming by. Inshallah, we'll have you soon. Thanks a lot for listening to the Mad Mamluks. You can reach us at themadmamluks@gmail.com, THEMADMAMLUKS@gmail.com. If you guys have any interesting stories or anything really you want to share, just please email us. We also have a Twitter handle at themadmamluks, at THEMADMAMLUKS. Thanks a lot for listening. Mad Mamluks out.
Assalamu alaikum.